What if I told you that democracy can arrive on the back of a fighter jet? What if freedom sometimes comes with missiles, sanctions, and broken cities? And what if the people who pay the highest price are never the ones who make the decisions? Today, we're talking about Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, U.S. intervention, colonial mentality, and what this really means, not just for Latin America, but for Cuba, and even for ordinary American citizens. Because this story is bigger than one country. It's about power, it's about control, and it's about who gets to decide the future of others. Let's start with what happened. After years of tension, sanctions, political pressure, and failed negotiations, the United States launched a direct operation against the Maduro government in Venezuela. The official explanation was simple. Maduro was labeled a dictator. His government was accused of corruption and drug trafficking, and the U.S. claimed Venezuela needed restoration of democracy. So the operation happened. Military targets were hit. Leadership was removed. And suddenly a country that was already fragile was thrown into even deeper uncertainty. Supporters of the operation called it liberation. Critics called it invasion. And both sides think they're right. But here's the uncomfortable question. Is it really democracy if it comes from outside? Let's talk about history. Latin America has been here before. For more than a century, powerful countries, especially the United States, have intervened in the region. Sometimes it was called anti-communism. Sometimes it was called security. Sometimes it was called peacekeeping. Now it's called democracy promotion. Different names, same pattern. A powerful country decides another country is on the wrong path. Then it applies pressure, sanctions, isolation, media campaigns, economic strangulation. And if that doesn't work, military action. This is what many people call a colonial mentality. Not traditional colonialism with flags and governors, but modern colonialism, where control is exercised through money, military power, and political influence, where decisions are made in Washington, not Caracas. So the big moral question is this: who has the right to decide how another nation should live? Because democracy is supposed to be about people choosing their leaders, not about outsiders choosing them. Yes, Maduro's government had serious problems: corruption, mismanagement, human rights concerns, economic collapse. Many Venezuelans were suffering. But suffering does not automatically justify foreign control. Removing a leader does not automatically create freedom. In fact, history shows us something important. Regime change is easy. Building a stable country is hard. After the operation, Venezuela didn't suddenly become peaceful and prosperous. It became uncertain. Power struggles started. Institutions weakened. Different groups competed for control. Some people were hopeful. Others were afraid. Because when foreign powers get involved, local voices often get silenced. Now let's talk about Cuba. Cuba and Venezuela were close allies. Venezuela supplied Cuba with oil. Cuba provided medical and technical support. They depended on each other. When Maduro fell, that relationship collapsed. Oil shipments stopped. Fuel shortages increased. Blackouts became more frequent. Transportation slowed down. Ordinary Cubans felt it immediately. Not politicians, not generals, families, workers, students, people trying to live normal lives. So one operation in Venezuela created suffering in Cuba. That's how interconnected geopolitics is. And that raises another question. If democracy brings humanitarian crises to neighboring countries, is it really success? Now let's look at the human cost. In Venezuela, civilians were caught in the middle. Some lost their homes, some lost relatives, some lost their jobs. Uncertainty became daily life. People didn't know who would be in charge next month or next week. Many Venezuelans wanted change, but they wanted it on their own terms, not imposed, not controlled, not supervised by foreign interests. And it's not only Latin Americans who pay the price. Americans pay too, just in different ways. Military operations cost billions of dollars. That money comes from taxpayers, from workers, from students, from families, money that could go to healthcare, education, infrastructure. Instead, it goes to weapons and logistics. There's also political cost. When the U.S. intervenes, it creates enemies. It increases global tension, it invites retaliation, cyber attacks, economic pressure, diplomatic isolation, sometimes terrorism. So when leaders say, "This is for freedom," you should ask, whose freedom, at what price, and paid by whom? Another important issue is international law. Countries are supposed to respect sovereignty. Borders are supposed to matter. Governments are supposed to be changed by citizens, not by foreign armies. When powerful countries break these rules, they weaken the entire system. They send a message: rules apply to the weak, not to the strong, and that is dangerous. Because once that logic spreads, no country is truly safe. Now, let's return to the main question. Is it rightful to bring democracy to the world by force? Look at history. Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan. All were liberated. All are still struggling. Democracy is not a product you can export. It is a culture. It grows slowly through education, institutions, trust, civic participation. You cannot bomb a society into maturity. You cannot sanction people into political wisdom. And you cannot impose freedom. Because imposed freedom is not freedom. It's control. So what happens next? For Venezuela, the future is still uncertain. Will there be real elections? Will institutions recover? Will corruption truly end? Or will new elites simply replace old ones? For Cuba, survival will mean adapting again, finding new partners, enduring shortages, paying for decisions they didn't make. For the United States, the long-term cost will keep growing, financially, politically, morally, and globally. This sets a precedent. If the U.S. can do this, why can't others? Why can't China? Why can't Russia? Why can't regional powers? The world becomes more unstable, more militarized, more suspicious, and less cooperative. So let's be honest. This is not a simple story of good versus evil. It's a story of power versus principle, of interests versus ideals, of rhetoric versus reality. Yes, Venezuela needed reform. Yes, Maduro's government failed many people. But foreign intervention is not a magic solution. It is a gamble, and usually civilians lose. The real question is not, can powerful countries change other nations? They can. The real question is, should they? And if they do, are they ready to take responsibility for everything that follows? Because democracy without sovereignty is fragile. Freedom without dignity is hollow. And power without accountability is dangerous. If you want a world that is truly democratic, it starts with respecting people's right to choose their own path, even when you don't like the result. That is the price of real freedom. Not missiles, not sanctions, not invasions. Respect and patience and trust in people. Here at History of Leaders 365, we believe that history isn't a museum of the past. It is the heartbeat of the present. It lives in the choices we make today and the voices we choose to amplify tomorrow. We are dedicated to uncovering the moments where leadership, courage, and our shared humanity collide to shift the course of the world. Today's story may have taken place in a specific time and a specific tongue, but its message remains borderless. Let us carry that spirit of resilience forward. Because whether we're looking back 1,000 years or looking ahead to the next hour, our greatest strength has always been our ability to find common ground in the pursuit of a better world. History is a story we are all writing together, and together we are the future. If today's journey resonated with you, please consider subscribing to the show and leaving a like or a review. By doing so, you help these stories reach new ears and ensure that the lessons of the past continue to fuel the leaders of the future.